Move on. Straight up, move on. Forget them. They are lying and they are untrustworthy. So move on. Now, sometimes this can be hard, especially if they've somehow tied themselves into your life, especially like, for instance, you get the kids involved in a divorce scenario. You can't move on, but you have to mentally move on. You have to emotionally detach from that human. And that's hard to do because obviously they were someone that you trusted. And the reason I know that you trusted them is because they got to a point where they were able to betray your trust and destroy you. So it's hard. But the fact that you trusted them, the fact that you had that relationship, that's even more reason to walk away. It's even more reason to move on. You got to see them for what they are. That person is not who you thought they were, right? They are not who you thought they were. The idea that this person was a trustworthy, faithful companion is not true. It is not true. That person does not exist. They didn't exist and they don't exist. It was in your head. It was in your head that this person was trustworthy and they were everything you wanted them to be and they were a faithful companion. That is a lie. They are not that person. They have proved it. They've proved it by their actions. So move on, and at the risk of sounding callous, get over it. Get over it. Do not dwell on what it was. And don't dwell on what it could have been. You hear when guys go through bad breakups, I thought we were gonna, it's like, no, don't dwell on that. Deal with what it is right now, what that person is. Deal with reality, accept reality, and be thankful for reality. Be thankful that you were able to learn before you invested more into this person. Be thankful that you found out when you did that this person was a liar, that this person was unfaithful, was untrustworthy. Be thankful that you know it, and you know it now instead of later. And you know what else is going to make it a lot easier to get over these situations is recognize that there's plenty of people out there in the world that are trustworthy and that are faithful, good people. They're out there. Go find one of them. But don't think that person that you had was the only one in the world. They're not. And you know what? Sometimes people have a hard time making that trust because they're so caught up and they don't want to meet someone else right away. That's fine. Start with yourself, right? Rely on yourself. Trust yourself. Because when someone breaks our trust, we question ourselves too.
Yes.
Like we think my judgment's bad. I'm not a good judge of human character because I totally put my faith in this person and look what they did to me. So now we don't trust her. So you got to build that trust up. Be alone. It's okay to be alone. Some people get freaked out when they're alone. It's okay to be alone. It's okay. It's okay to be alone. There's no big deal. Enjoy it. Do something productive and build that trust up in yourself. Look back at the situation, learn from it. Listen. Because guys, no, she wasn't.
Yeah.
That is a lie. That person that you put together in your head, that you've assembled in your mind, that person doesn't exist. They don't exist. The person that you dealt with was a liar, was unfaithful, was a cheater. That's the person. The person wasn't this person that you're putting forth in your mind. That person doesn't exist. So stop.
But you don't understand the good times.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. And guys ruin their lives. I mean, girls do too. Girls and guys. They ruin their lives with over somebody that they build a person on the framework of reality. They build a fantasy.
Yeah.
And they're in love with that fantasy.
Yeah.
And they want to keep it going.
Right.
It's a fantasy, so stop.
Yeah.
So, move on, man. I know it's hard. Trust us.
Speaking of moving on, next question. Unless we want to talk about this some more.
No, I think we need to move on.
Okay. Exactly, right? Let's move on.
You know what's, hold on.
Oh, we're not moving on. You're stuck on it.
No, but what's horrible is, man, people kill themselves
Yeah.
in these situations over a lie.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's
trick.
the trick. But it's a lie. And guys or girls get so distraught over this fantasy that doesn't exist. And what's really jacked up is if they could just move on, they'd find a reality that was actually congruent with what their desires are.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
And obsessing over a fantasy. It's a fantasy. Don't obsess over the fantasy, man. You can get over it, and there's plenty of other human beings out there that are awesome. So go find one of them. And in the meantime, hang out with your badass self.
Right.
Become a better person.
I had to take the time to mourn the loss of my marriage. And say, God, I don't understand why. Why did this happen? What was going on? And God says there are certain things you may never get the full answer to. But you got to trust that all things are working for your good. Even the breakups that you didn't pray for. I got to talk to somebody right now because you've been beating yourself up over a breakup. And God is saying, I'm using the breakup to build you up. But it's okay to acknowledge the loss. So often in my experience in church, we want to override how we feel. I'm not asking you to override how you feel. I'm saying get in touch with it so you can heal. Because in the feeling, that's where the healing is.
You know, sometimes when we're at our lowest, God sends us a kind and gracious friend who believes in us again. That's part of getting over your regrets. Not only the mercy of God, but someone who says to you, look, I know what happened. I know, but I still believe in you. And I still think God's going to use you. And I think you're my friend. Have you ever had somebody come in your lowest moment and show you kindness and actually say they believe in you and know you'll get back on your feet, know you'll go back and be used? Oh man, you know, I don't know about you, but when you make the worst mistakes of your life, that's when you find out who your friends are. Isn't it? There's people who say you're your friends, but when you've really fallen face forward, that's when you find out you're friends.
Please, those who are here and watching us, if you are still clinging on to the past, if you are still holding on to the past, if you are still saying, I did this and I did this and I did that, and I can't go over it, I can't overcome it, I can't leave it behind me, it's haunting me, wake up. It's the enemy. It's the enemy trying to make you lose hope. He is trying to make it pitch black so you don't have that drive, that eagerness to go forward. Whatever you've done in the past, it is the past. Put it behind you and say, Lord, I am getting up in your name. In your holy name, I'm getting up. And whatever the enemy is making fun of me, but in Jesus' mighty name, I will never be put to shame.
Forgiveness does not change the person that hurt you. Are you listening to me? Forgiveness doesn't change that person. Forgiveness changes you. Guess what forgiveness does not do? Forgiveness does not mean you forget. One of the most crazy theories is that you forgive and forget. You don't forget, but you do have the opportunity to forgive every time you remember. There's some things in my life and there's some people in my life that every time I remember, I have to forgive them again. Forgiveness is not a one-time fix-all. Forgiveness is a daily sacrifice that I have to implement so that I can receive what it is that God has for me. If I don't put into practice forgiveness for those that have hurt me and those that have impacted me in a negative way, then I hold myself hostage to a prison that God never intended for me to stay put in.
When God gives you a new beginning, it starts with an ending. Be thankful for closed doors. They often guide us to the right one.